Hi, I'm Mike Gubby, and Lisa, thank you for joining us on this episode of Mike's Onsite.
Pleasure.
It's been fun working with you. Can you talk about the outcome that you were looking for? When you sort of envisaged this project, and sort of what kind of things did you want to see happen, in the house here?
For me, it was about creating like a really clean aesthetic.
Yeah.
We've got quite vaulted ceilings in this home, and a number of different shapes and sizes of windows treatments. For me, it was about creating something that was really clean and functional as well.
Yeah, sure.
Because we've got a lot of exposure in this particular open plan living space, so the sun moves around and so forth. So for me, mainly it was about being able to cover up the windows entirely when they're closed, and keeping out the elements outside.
Yep.
And I wanted it to be non-intrusive, I suppose, on the actual windows themselves. So a lot of the time when you look at window treatments, that you're covering up quite a bit of the windows. So I want it to be a little bit above the window line itself when the blinds were tucked away. So that was really important for me.
Yeah, sure. So you're happy with the outcome?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Particularly the motorisation, that wasn't something initially that I was thinking about doing. And what I had in the home previously were chain winders on the blinds, so I was kind of used to that. So going to the motorisation as opposed to the chain winders was just...
It's got a really clean outcome. You couldn't imagine with the chain sort of hanging down, particularly on those porthole windows there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just, being able to get up in the morning and press a button, and, same thing when I go to bed at night time. It's fantastic.
Yeah. I guess in winter time you get a lot of northern sun that sort of comes through here, which kind of warms the house, which is kind of nice. But I guess thinking about that means that's west. So what's it like sitting on the couch in the afternoon with the sun blaring in through those portholes? Must be
in the summer. In the summer it's the whole wall gets hot as well. But the direct light that comes in, you definitely got to manage that. Particularly in the warmer months. So for me, the portholes, definitely needed to be fully covered up. Before, I had the blinds sitting in the recess.
Oh, yes.
So there was quite a big gap, as you know, between. So the block out, even with those previous blinds, it wasn't fully functioning. There was always, that light coming through.
And I guess with that probably about 15 or 16 mil sort of light strip, if you're sitting on the couch, you'd probably find yourself having to move every so often and sit there and watch the TV, which would have been a bit awkward. Okay. And the exit door here, how have you found being able to move in and out of the door? That's been okay? Yeah,
absolutely. And that was definitely something that I wanted in the brief, that we had to have the split option with the blind, so that we could still use the sliding door. And then obviously have the smaller window with the blind down when needed, and particularly in the summer, the sun moves around, but it sort of clips straight in the side here. And gets really, really hot.
And it must sort of come in and hit you in the kitchen.
That's it.
Behind you there.
So to have this blind and the kitchen blind down, and then the sliding door up, still fully functional, which is great.
Yeah. Let's talk about the colour, because the fabric that we used was the Australian-made fabric called Noosa, which is part of the Wilson's range. And this fabric is actually manufactured in Wangaratta, which is fantastic. So from my perspective, using Australian manufacturing with Australian-made fabrics, it's really a match made in heaven. So the colour you chose was the parchment. How did that sort of, what, I guess, thoughts were you having in regard to sort of using that parchment fabric, and what did you like about that particular fabric?
For me, again, I sort of mentioned that I changed over from the warmer white to a cooler white. So the colour was first and foremost most important. I wanted the blinds to be, I suppose, a bit seamless.
Yeah, sure. Sort of there, but not.
That's right.
Not seen. So that sort of really neutral sort of slub through that fabric kind of worked well. Yeah.
But in saying that, I also didn't want it to be too clinical.
Oh, okay.
So this particular fabric had a bit of organic texture to it.
Yeah.
So you know, the aesthetic for me in the house is pretty relaxed. So
Yeah.
I thought that that was like a really good combination
Yeah.
to have with
Yeah.
with the new paint color.
Yeah, fantastic. Lisa, thank you.
My pleasure.
It's been fun talking with you today. This has been a really enjoyable experience. I'm wrapped, you know, obviously with the outcome, and I can't thank you enough for joining me on Mike's On-Site.
My pleasure. It's fantastic. No, we're really loving the space with the change. So thanks again.
So as you can see, I've now got the ladder back with me. I've got a remote control. I've got some brackets. I've got the tape measure. I'm back in my comfort zone, and I'm ready to tell you exactly what Lisa's thoughts were and how we applied that to the roller blind that you can see behind me. So we're going to pick on this roller blind a lot because that tells a lot of the story about what Lisa wanted with this job here. So we can start with the basics. So this is a back rolling roller blind that we need in Pelmet 95, and this is the Pelmet 95. I'm going to talk specifically about how I measured for this installation a little bit later. We've got the Pelmet 95, we've got one of the Automate zero head wire-free motors fitted up in there, and that comes with the little rechargeable USB port that we stick in there. This is the Australian-made fabric, the Noosa fabric. It's got this really gentle, organic sort of slub that goes through. I don't think it doesn't sort of say too much as a fabric, but it just really complements, I think, the wall colour with what Lisa was talking about as well. Now, if I put those down, this is a nice flat, silent bottom bar that we've got, you know, as an option for the bottom rail of the iSeekblinds website. And let me show you that I've got the microphone fitted right here, and if you can see, I'm moving that, and we're not getting much of a sound that's coming from that. So if I was actually to show you what's happening here is these little rubber bumpers, you know, are stopping that bumping sound. If I was to move those out of the way, because you can adjust them, that's what you get in its place without a silent bottom bar. So if I put those back again, once again, you just move them to where the obstruction is. In this case, it's on the outside edges of the architrave, and we go back to it being really nice and silent. So if I lower this blind down, we've got both of these blinds moving together. I think we've got a beautiful soft close finish with these blinds, and if I bring them back up again, so the way I approached this job here is that the two elements that Lisa wanted, firstly, she wanted the fabric to sit flush with the outside edges of the architrave here, and you can see that's the outside edge, so we've got that nailed. And we also wanted to fit the Pelmet above the top of the architrave because we wanted to demonstrate the sort of additional height of the window. And if we didn't do that, then the Pelmet would sort of be sitting down through this area here, and we'd lose the top section of glass. So I think it's been a really pleasing outcome with the Pelmet 95 just to be able to lift it above the window frame. You know, and get that additional height. And then obviously when the blinds are up, you can see that we're still able to see the shape of the architrave. So when it comes to Pelmet 95, we always need to measure the width and the drop. So let's talk about the width first, because we've got a little bit of flexibility when it comes to the width of exactly where we want the fabric to end up. But it's extremely important that you note the width measurement that you provide is always the outside box measurement, which is from here through to there. That's the width that you provide iSeekblinds. Now, Lisa wanted the fabric to end up flush with the outside edges of the architrave. So I started with that measurement first. And if I just measure across there to there, it's 690 millimeters. That's the width of the fabric that we wanted to end up with. So because the distance from the outside edge of the Pelmet to the fabric is 18 millimeters, I need to add plus 18 plus 18. So let's go 690 millimeters plus 18 plus 18, and that gives me a width of 726 millimeters, and that's the width that you must provide iSeekblinds, called the outside box measurement. And this is exactly where you're going to end up with the fabric sitting if that's the look that you want with the Pelmet 95, considering the flexibility that it offers you. Now let's talk about measuring the height for this particular installation, or the drop. So when it comes to measuring the height for this particular installation, I had to do things a little bit differently. What I did was I started my tape measure 100 millimeters above the top of the architrave, because that's the top of the pelmet, or where the top of the pelmet's going to sit. And that's exactly where we take our measurement from. So I started my tape measures 100 mil above, and I come down to the bottom, and I also added on 100 mils of fabric here. So simply said, starting 100 mils above and then going 100 mils below gave me 870 millimeters in the drop. Remember, we're always starting from the top of our pelmet to underneath the architrave where we wanted the fabric to finish. Now, when it comes to installation of the Pelmet 95, it really couldn't be easier, but in this instance, it was a little bit different. Now, the Pelmet 95 has these beautiful little right angle brackets, and let me just show you exactly how that fits on to the pelmet. If we look down here, that's the finished outcome of the Pelmet 95 bracket. But if I fitted the back of that bracket flush onto the plaster wall, then the fabric would come down and it would rub right on the top of the architrave here, and we do not want that. It's only got to happen once to damage, obviously, the back of the fabric. So what I had to do was use my little U-shaped packers, and what that did was just brought the bracket for the pelmet just off the wall slightly. So this particular packer is 5 millimeters, and you can see I've installed it in this up and down direction. Using that top hole just there, I fitted my pelmet bracket through the top hole, and then this bottom hole here I was able to get through, obviously, the U shape of the pelmet. So it was very easy to install the brackets, considering there was a stud that went straight up this side of the window frame, and there was a stud that went up that side of the window frame. So those screws were about 40 mils long, and they went straight into the timber stud. And as you can see, they're beautiful and secure. Now, I can only give you a guide that kind of 5 mils is about the starting point, but I don't know how thick your architraves are. I don't know how wide the blind is. I don't know what the drop of fabric is. So it's really trial and error when you're doing something like this to lengthen the window, maybe even create some more darkness in a bedroom. You've got to trial and error. So 5 mils is about the starting point for a smaller blind. But if it's a larger blind, then you may use one of these packers here. And I haven't got my glasses on, but that's 6.4 millimeters. And then we go up to the black packer, which is 10 millimeters, but it might be sort of 6.4 might be the color that you'll need to use. It's representing the width. So it's a bit of trial and error. When you pop the blind into the Pelmet 95, you've got to let it come down, but you've got to watch this back edge here and make sure that the fabric is not rubbing on that architrave. So in this instance, the 5 mil packers just brought the brackets far enough forward, which brought the fabric forward, which enabled the blind to roll up and down really cleanly. So that's the Pelmet 95. As you can see, the blind is already installed. There's the blind there. So it's really simply a matter of coming up above the brackets, so you can see exactly how to install it. Grabbing the pelmet from either side, put it in the front section, and then once I'm connected at the front, I'm just able to push back. So now at this point, depending on where my fabrics sit, I'm just able to give the pelmet a little bit of a pat from back to front to make sure I get it lined up nicely. So let's have a look. And that's perfect. I think we've got an awesome outcome for the Pelmet 95. So as you heard with the discussion with Lisa, she's still using the remote control to operate the blinds to go up and down. But right now, we're just about to take it to a whole new level and install the Pulse 2 Wi-Fi hub. Now, couple of the key considerations that we use for the Wi-Fi hub now that we've got the automated roller blinds is the western sun problem. Now that faces west. There's the TV, there's the couch that you may or not be able to see, but I can assure you it's just right there. What we're going to do is we're going to set these blinds, these two particular blinds here at 3 p.m. in the afternoon with one of our timers. We're going to block that western sun. There's obviously thin glass that's here, and we need to stop that heat, that push that Lisa talks about coming in through these windows. And we need to save money with our energy and heating and cooling costs, both in summer and winter. So at 3 p.m, these blinds go down automatically, both of them. I think we're going to set it for about 7 p.m, but it'll be a bit of trial and error. Once the sun goes past the neighbour's roof, they'll come up again at 7 p.m. just to enjoy the last bit of the natural light of summertime. And then obviously the sunrise and sunset timers will kick in for our summer and winter scenes to open the blinds in the morning and then close them automatically at night. So the Wi-Fi hub's going to bring great flexibility, but importantly, we've just got to stop that western heat from coming through. So this blind here with the common Pelmet is what we call a link layout number 1. So in this blinds, there are actually 2 blinds. There's a very small gap sort of here in the center. So this mechanism is great for sliding doors. Now we've got a motor fitted up in here which controls this blind, and then we've got another motor fitted here that controls this blind here. Now because the exit door is in the center, we chose to make the left-hand blind the larger one and the right-hand blind the smaller one. And that's because when the northern sun sort of comes around in winter time, there's a lot of light that gets sort of stuck here on the breakfast bar. So we just thought if we could control that separately, then we could have the larger blind on our exit door. And I think we've come out with a really pleasing result. So let me put this one here up for you. So beautiful soft close. Sounds great. And if I go to channel 4, we've got separate control of these ones here. Now, as always, we can control all the blinds in the house via channel 0 with the remote control, but pretty soon the Wi-Fi hub's going to kick in and it's all going to be done automatically. Hey Lisa, the videos are done now so you can have your house back.
Thanks so much.
Oh, that's okay. Look, thank you for being so hospitable. It's been fantastic working for you. I think the viewers are going to love the result, you know, for what we've achieved here. And I just wanted to thank you so much for being part of the Mike's On-Site video today.
Absolute pleasure. The outcome's been fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm so glad you're pleased.
Yeah.
Thanks very much for watching this episode today. If you'd like to share, like and subscribe, leave any comments. I'm Mike Gubby and thanks for watching.